Shwmai a croeso cynnes, and welcome to the What's Your Story podcast. I'm James Owen, a Welsh filmmaker and storyteller, and I'm passionate about sharing stories. This podcast is all about business owners sharing their journey, and we'll be speaking with directors, entrepreneurs and creatives from all across Wales to learn from their experiences. We believe everyone has a story to tell. What's your story? Shwmai a croeso cynnes to the next instalment of What's Your Story. And today in the studio, I've got a fellow furnace cherry. Used to play rugby with this man, Mr. Nick Stevenson, who is head of customer success at Ticketsolve. Did I say that right, Nick?
You did indeed.
Well, welcome. Right. You've only walked... actually, do you know what? This is probably fact, right? You are probably out of all the guests we filmed, you are probably the closest person that lives close... I'm not even making sense here. You live the closest to the Stori Cymru office, and you drove here.
I probably do, yeah, and I did drive. Apologies. I thought it was going to be late for you, James, so I needed to get over here sharpish.
I was Ticketsolve's carbon reduction plan looking.
I know, yeah. I cycle a lot, though. So.
You do. He does. He's a fit guy. Nick, thanks for coming on. Really appreciate you coming here to have a conversation. And yeah, for those who are listening or watching, could you just give us a summary in 2 or 3 sentences, who you are, what you do, and maybe quite simply, what is Ticketsolve?
Oh, geez, that's a question there now. So who am I? Nick Stevenson, as you just said, and I'm the head of customer success in Ticketsolve. So my job basically is to look after our customers, make sure they get the most value from our product, Ticketsolve, and help them grow as an organization. So that's what I love doing. Going in, talking to customers and helping them grow. And Ticketsolve basically is a ticketing platform, so like a box office platform. So locally, the Furness Theatre and Carmarthenshire Theatres, they use Ticketsolve to sell their tickets. So if you ever go online and book a ticket for a show, you're using our software to do that.
Brilliant. And what do you do for fun outside of work?
What do I do? I used to play rugby with you, but no longer. I gave that up a long time ago. But now I do triathlons and just keeping fit, basically. I need that for my mental health because that's really important. So I just love trying to do something every day, basically. Bike, go for a run. Yeah.
And you work in construction now as well?
Yeah. Some people say that. We've just had an extension on the house and I've done a lot of the work myself. So obviously the big structural things I didn't do. Some local lads did that for us, but pretty much everything else I've done. So the plasterboard in, putting the kitchen in with my mate and all that type of stuff. So yeah, learned loads of new skills over the last year. So it's been busy.
Good. It's nice to see you having a go. So tell me, Nick, in terms of your business story, you didn't, I'm guessing you didn't grow up thinking I wanted to work in the arts. What was it like growing up? What did you want to do when you were younger?
If I'm being honest, I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And that's probably something that a lot of people struggle with is because everyone, well, back in my day, I'm talking as if I'm really old, yeah, I'm not. But back then you had like people, I want to be a policeman. I want to, go be a doctor and all that type of stuff. And that's kind of still true now, but I think there's so many more things that people can do. And back then I didn't really know what I wanted to do when I was in school. I didn't really know what subjects to take because I didn't know what I wanted to do, basically. So, yeah, it was one of those things where I just did my thing in school, went to university, which we're going to be probably talking about later, and I just fell into this industry, I suppose.
Yeah, okay. So you went to study school in Llanelli, yeah?
Yeah.
Did you stay in sixth form?
I did indeed, yeah. Only reason I stayed in sixth form because it was a good laugh, basically.
I second that. It was a good laugh.
Yeah. So I absolutely loved it. So we had a really good group of friends and kind of the year group when I was growing up. We were really good at rugby kind of thing. And I loved playing rugby back then. So when I went to sixth form, it was like, yeah, playing rugby. And like, this is probably how sad it is. I used to go to school when I didn't have lessons because I used to love just hanging around with my mates, being in the lolva, all that type of stuff. I used to love it. So.
You're taking me back now. Some of the listeners are probably like, what on earth? They don't quite understand. But yeah, it's good fun. So, okay, you were in sixth form, finished your A-levels, and did you just pick a course and go away to study uni? Did you start working? Talk me through your sort of next steps.
I've got one of those work ethics that I want to work for things and I don't want to just be given things. So it was really important to me that when I was doing my A levels and stuff, I wanted to earn my own money. So going out on weekends, I've got my own money to spend basically. So looking around for different jobs, and I came across one at Theatre Elli. Can you remember Theatre Elli?
I can remember Theatre Elli. For those of you that don't know, it was a thriving cinema theatre space in Llanelli. The building is still there.
It is.
It's still there. Yeah. Not doing very much now.
No.
But yeah, that's where you used to go and see. I probably watched my first Star Wars film as a kid, Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
Attack of the Clones. I would have been there.
And you probably paid £2 for a ticket.
Oh, it was so cheap.
Yeah, absolutely. So I just found a job there, basically, cutting tickets. That was pretty much it. So
cut-in tickets.
Yeah, cut-in tickets. So basically, you buy a ticket at the box office, you come and see me, I look at your ticket and say, oh yeah, you bought a ticket for Star Wars, cut it, off you go and enjoy the film. That was
What was your job title?
I've no, well, it was front of house, but ticket cutter.
Ticket cutter.
Well. Yeah.
Okay, so that's your first experience in the industry, working in the arts.
Yeah.
So you were cutting tickets as a student.
Yeah,
okay.
a good grounding, I thought.
Yeah, good grounding.
Start at the bottom.
Okay, and then you went on to study in university. You didn't know what you wanted to do, so you just picked something you liked, which was sport.
Exactly, yeah, pretty much. I love sports, love playing rugby, played with Furness for years and years and years.
How many caps you got?
I got over 100. I got one of those caps in the house anyway, so I don't know the exact. I think Gay ranked at Furness missed a couple of games I played because I think I played more than what he said.
So where did you think you played?
I think I'm up towards the 200, but I think he's only got me at like 120 odd or whatever, but I'm sure I played more than that.
You'll have to come back and play for the seconds.
With all
Steve Evans messaged you.
No, he hasn't. But with all my injuries, I don't know if I'll be able to walk after that, so yeah.
Okay, so you went to study sport.
Yeah, went to study sport because I got a keen interest in it, and I thought that could be a potential job I want to do as well, going into that industry. Because as you know, I coach Furness, and I used to coach Furness. I now coach Wanderers. I would just
get
say
off
that.
the podcast.
But it's not the main team. It's the under-13s. My boy plays
for your boy.
For my boy. Yeah. So yeah, I've got a keen interest in that. So I thought, this could be a potential career path for me going into sports industry. But while I was in university, because I went to Coleg Drindod in Carmarthen, which is part of University Trinity St David's, or whatever they're called these days. That's the one. So because it's only in Carmarthen, I didn't really have to travel anywhere. I still live back at home because, as everyone probably knows me, I'm very tight with my money. So I didn't really want to go into a big student debt and all that type of stuff. And that's one thing I am really, really, really glad I did. I came out of university with no debt whatsoever. So I was really happy with that. But when I was in university, because you're not working, you're not there every day and stuff like that. So I kept on working in the theatre. But I think the theatre then saw kind of potential in what I could do. I was quite good at computers and stuff like that. So they moved me through the ranks and I did loads of different jobs while I was in university. So I went into the box office team, so selling tickets, box office manager. Then I went into the finance department, helping them with their budget planning, etc., etc. Then I went into the marketing team, and that's when I thought, okay, yeah, this is something I do like. Marketing kind of gives you that kind of freedom to pretty much do anything. You could be creative, and you feel as if you have an impact on that organization, because whatever I'm putting out there to our customers, it's making them try and come into the organization. You're thinking, okay, I'm doing a good job here.
Very good. So how old are you studying now in your degree, and you're progressing?
I can't remember how old I was when I went to university. It was 17, 18?
It's been 18.
Yeah, something like that.
So you're a young lad.
I'm a young lad.
Who's now getting opportunities, getting promoted, getting recognised, probably getting paid more as you go up the ladder, or maybe was it more responsibility, same pay?
Well, at the start, it was good pay because I was cutting tickets and I was getting good pay. And council back then, he used to give you time and a half working on a Saturday, for example. So if you worked on a Saturday, you get good money. Growing up, and when I used to come to Furness then, because pints were cheap in Furness as well, it was like, oh, wow, okay, I got enough money to buy a couple of pints, so it was good. But yeah, once you start going up the ranks in the theatre, you get much more responsibility, but the but the pay is not what it is, I suppose, because it's local authority. But you do get extra benefits. You get a really good pension, etc., etc. So yeah, really good on that.
Okay, so you were sort of on the verge of graduating, doing well in a degree, just because you like sports.
Yep.
And then you landed quite a senior job.
Yeah, so it was a bit after I graduated. It was when Llanelli were really, really lucky and privileged, I suppose, to get European funding for a brand new theatre. So the Furness Theatre, as everyone knows it now, that was supposed to be called The Works, and it was supposed to be down here in North Dock. So where,
really?
Yeah, so where the old, that building.
Not the tin, the old tin works?
That's it, yeah.
Old Castle Works?
The old Castle Works. So that was supposed to be the site for the original theatre. But then it was something like £26 million project. It was massive. We did loads of work on it, trying to get feasibility studies, all that type of stuff was great. But then funding was a little bit tight. So we decided then to scale down the project and put something on the old Stepney site in Llanelli. And that's where Furness came, basically. So it was a £16 million project and everything was building up towards that. So maybe about 2 years before that, or maybe a year and a half before that project was finalised, they advertised for a new role, which was a senior business marketing and programming coordinator for Carmarthenshire Theatres. So if anyone is not aware, Carmarthenshire Theatres runs 3 venues, one in Llanelli, which was Theatre Elli, then the Furness, then the Lyric in Carmarthen, and then the Miners in Ammanford. And this job basically was to come in and do all the marketing management, booking all the shows in, doing business development, all that type of stuff for those organisations. So it's a very big job, but it was a small team.
Small team?
Yeah, exactly.
How many were in your team?
Well, it was only myself and Kirsty.
That's very small.
Yeah. So just on the marketing side, we obviously had Linda there on finance, Rian on the tech side and things like that. But just for booking shows in and marketing, myself and Kirsty did a lot of the legwork on that, really.
And what sort of scale are we talking in terms of bringing revenue into the local economy? How many people were booking tickets across the theatres? Can you remember some of those sort of numbers that you were working with?
Like in Theatre Elli, Carmarthenshire Theatres, we were booking roughly maybe 600 to 700 shows in a year. Because there's 3 venues, obviously. So we pretty much have something every week or every night of the week, really. So that was busy. So obviously booking them in, doing all the marketing management. And then what that brought in revenue, we were doing over like £1 million, £1.5 million worth in ticket revenue and stuff just for the theatre. But what people need to realise is how these organisations impact the community as a whole. So even though, I'm making 20 quid on a ticket, that's fine, that's coming into the theatre. But the local economy is benefiting. For example, we had a deal with Italia. Do you remember Italia?
Oh, I remember Italia. That was such a nice restaurant.
It was. So we had a deal with them basically where if anyone came with a theatre ticket, they would get 10% off a meal at Italia. Wow. So Italia were benefiting. They were getting loads of people in the door, having meals before the theatre. Then they were coming to the theatre, enjoying a really good night out. And then after that, they were going to the bar or whatever, a pub across the road and spending money there. So they spent £20 on a ticket, but they may have spent £30 in Italia. They may have spent another 30 quid in the bar opposite after the show. So you can see how this has a really profound impact, I suppose, on the local economy. It's not you don't look at it as an insular thing. It's more a wide, and it has kind of, it's got its tentacles basically everywhere within Llanelli, so it's quite good.
And do you think organisations in the arts, just even across the UK, think about the impact it has on the local economy, or are they sort of tunnel vision, just think, well, what can it do for us?
No, that's one thing I will say about the arts and culture industry. It's they really believe that they have a huge impact on the thing. Because one thing with the arts, it's very difficult to, it's very difficult to calculate kind of the benefit that this industry brings, because everyone just thinks, I'm coming to see a show or whatever, and that's fine. But how that impacts those people emotionally and intelligently, for example, is where you come in, you're actually looking at a show and you think, all right, this is a profound kind of thing on my life, and it changes people. It does. I've been in theatre shows before where they come in to see a drama show, they come out and they're absolutely crying their eyes out, and they're like they've had a really emotional experience. So not only on the revenue side, it's having impact, but it's having impact on mental health, health well-being, all that type of stuff has got profound impacts everywhere.
And I could tell you're an athlete because you always want to better yourself, don't you, Nick? You want
Absolutely,
to better
yeah.
what you do, whether it's mentally, physically. So you wanted to progress in your sort of leadership and management, and you went to study a master's.
Yep, yeah, that's one thing. Again, I like to push myself and, like you said, improve where I can. And I want to go up the ranks in the council, basically. I wanted to be a senior leader, which I was, but I think I was missing a few because I was quite young at the time, and I think I was missing some of those kind of management skills and things like that. So I decided to go to Lampeter University and do a master's degree in leadership and management. And that gave me a really good grounding, I suppose, to where I am today. It's taught me loads of different things, gave me loads of skills, and I've used those skills in loads of different areas.
Great. And you got excited initially about wanting to do more in the sort of arts and culture industry, but more specifically in Carmarthenshire. You had all these great ideas about how you could improve maybe a furnace and all the other theatres, but you sort of lost the joy on the way. Is that fair to say?
No, it definitely. There's pros and cons to working in any organisation, and I used to love working in the council. Like I said, good benefits. Furnace was amazing. It was a £16 million theatre on our doorstep, and we were kind of managing it, and it was absolutely fantastic. But council comes with a lot of baggage. And I'm not knocking the council because they do a terrific...
We all need a council.
Exactly, yeah, and they do a terrific job. But because it's so big, it takes a lot of time for things to happen. So there's a lot of bureaucracy, red tape, all that type of stuff. One thing I used to stand by a lot was, and I don't condone this, but it used to work, but it's always easier to ask for forgiveness and permission. So a lot of the time I was doing things in the council where I should have had kind of sign off on it and stuff like that, but I was like, oh, let's just do it and see how it goes. And a lot of things worked and a few things didn't. But I understand you can't really do that in an organisation like the council because it's really bureaucratic, and it just takes a long time for things to happen, which is fine. And like you said, I kind of lost that passion for it then, because I wanted to do things, and it was like, oh, my hands are tied a little bit. I got to wait a bit of time and all that type of stuff. So I went out to have a look what else was out there, basically.
And you looked in your network.
Yeah.
So at the time, Ticketsolve were customers of, Theatre Cigar were customers of Ticketsolve. So you already had a relationship with them, and you just saw an opportunity?
It was a bit of a weird one, really. I remember, I can't remember who I was with, but we were in the office in the theatre, and we were looking on the Ticketsolve website because I wanted to fix something, a printer maybe, I can't remember, but we were looking on the website, right, how do I fix a printer in Ticketsolve? And I just saw, oh, right, okay, this job has come up, and it was a sales and marketing executive, and I was like, all right, okay, fine, I'll have a look at this. And basically, I phoned Paul because I got a relationship with Paul, and Paul's our managing director in Ticketsolve. And I got a good relationship with him. And I said, Paul, I've seen this job. What's it all about? And he's like, oh, yeah, come and have a chat with me up in London. So I was like...
And Paul's Irish. So can you do an impression of Paul?
I can't. No, he'd kill me if I did an impression of Paul. But he is Irish. And...
hi there, Nick. You want to come see me here?
Oh, jeez.
Sorry, Paul.
And for me, that was a bit weird.
Okay.
Because I'm a Llanelli lad, and I've been quite insular. And then when you go for a job and they say, oh yeah, just come up to London, it's like, geez, going up to London, that's a big step, just to have a chat with someone. But it's kind of natural to me now because I work all over the UK and I travel everywhere from Dublin to London, Manchester, everywhere. So it's natural now. But back then it was like, oh gee, right, I got to go up to London. This is a big deal kind of thing. And yeah, I went up to London. Spoke to Paul, and he asked me to do a little presentation about who I was and kind of that. And it was a sales job. And I was a bit hesitant at the beginning because I'm not a sales guy. I'd never considered myself as a sales guy. And when I started doing
Even though you were selling tickets?
Well, yeah, I wouldn't call that a sales guy, but everyone gets tarred with the same brush. A sales guy to me is someone in the suit and tie, cheeky chappy, trying to sell things, which I'm not a fan of. I hate those type of salespeople, like car salesmen and all that type of stuff. I know, I shouldn't say it, but yes, one of those. I didn't see myself as a salesman.
Okay.
So when I was going through the presentation, Paul just started to basically. Wasn't laying into me, but basically he was emphasizing, right, this is a sales role. You need to hit targets. You need to do this. You need to do that. And when he was talking to me, I was like, he was kind of sinking in slowly and slowly and slowly. And then afterwards, I thought I cocked up anyway in the interview. And Paul said, right, okay, I'll be in touch soon. So I jumped on the train. And on the train back, I was thinking a lot about it. And I said, I text Paul, or I can't remember, text him or phoned him, one of the two. And I basically pulled myself out of the running. I said, Paul, I'm not your man. I'm not a sales guy. And I don't think I'll be able to do that job for you.
You actually phoned him because he said to you it was the worst phone call he ever had.
That's true, actually.
And he's probably had a lot of phone calls.
Yes. Yeah. So just put that in context. So Paul tells me now, because we laugh about it now. But he thought he had a really good person in me because I've had really good industry experience. I worked in Carmarthenshire theatres for 16 years. So I knew the industry, and because I did all those different jobs in the theatre, it gave me a really good grounding.
Especially cutting tickets.
Exactly, yeah. And it gave me a grounding of what's needed to run the theatre. So he saw that and he thought, right, we got a really good candidate here. And I think he says now I went a bit too hard on the interview, and I pulled out. And he was like, "Oh, right, okay, what do I do now?" And then he had to phone, Sean, our CEO, and things like that. Just say, "Oh, Nick's pulled out," kind of thing. And he got straight back on the phone. No, I'll be able to support you, all this type of stuff. And in the end, there was a lot of back and forth and stuff. And I had to weigh it up a lot because this is a big kind of decision for me to make. I was in the council. I had a good job in the council, quite senior.
You have kids at this point?
I had Oliver, and Amelia came a couple of years after I moved to Ticketsolve. So yeah,
So you were married, family, mortgage.
Yeah, absolutely, a mortgage, everything. And everyone says, council is a really good job, good pension, etc., etc. It was a big decision for me to move, and I never get. My parents were like, "No, don't move, don't go for it. You've got a really good job in the council, just stay there," kind of thing. But thinking of it now, it's the best decision I've ever made, and I'm glad I made it. And it's just chalk and cheese, the different cultural kind of cultural aspects within those organizations, massive.
What do your parents say now?
Yeah, they just say, "Oh yeah, never listen to us again." So, yeah.
Well, that's good advice. So yeah, up until now, you've been working 16 years in Ticketsolve, which is quite the feat. 16 years in the council.
Yeah,
but you've just come up to a decade.
Yeah, well, coming up to a decade next March, I think it is. So yeah, 9.75 years so far. So.
Any benefits for your 10 years?
I don't know. I think so. I don't know. A couple of pints. No, Ticketsolve do treat us really, really well. And I don't know. It may give me a couple of extra days off, but who knows?
And I guess, for you being it's probably, quite a big thing, actually. I'm starting to get more used to taking my mindset of, I love the town, I love Llanelli.
Yeah.
But obviously there are opportunities outside of Llanelli to help businesses all across the UK like you do. So I think it is quite a big thing to think, I'm going to go to London and have a chat because, if you're working in Carmarthenshire, you're very focused on that area. So it was probably, at the time, a real big risk. Yeah. Thankfully, one that paid off.
Yeah, it definitely paid off. And yeah, I was the same as you. You're comfortable in Llanelli. Everyone knows you, that type of stuff. And then going outside of that is because when you're in Llanelli, you think, all right, I just do my thing. But you quickly realize when you move out that there is a big world out there.
When you go to London, nobody knows you.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And when you, I'm in Dublin every couple of months because our headquarters over there. I'm in Manchester, London, Edinburgh, Glasgow, all those type of stuff. And when you go and visit all those and talk to different venues, yes, they're not dissimilar to what we are, but they've just got a different outlook, I suppose. And it just opens your horizons out, basically.
Good. So what have you learned working all this time in Ticketsolve? What are some of the big things that you've learned working in what is probably quite a forward-thinking organisation versus your sort of experience working in local authority?
Yeah, the biggest thing I would say is the culture within the organisation. And I know it's difficult for councils to have that culture because, there's a lot of people to manage. Where in Ticketsolve, we're a team of 38 now, I think. So we're growing. When I joined the company, I think there was maybe 15. So yeah, we've doubled in size, which is great. Revenue's gone up and all that type of stuff. But I was really grateful that I came into Ticketsolve at the right time, because they were a startup basically, and they were going for maybe 6 years, I think 5 or 6 years before I joined them. So they were on a little trajectory, but then when I came in, things started to take off. Then the product started developing. We are winning more customers, and I was in that position where I could influence the culture. So I helped basically build that culture within Ticketsolve to where it is today. And everyone who works in Ticketsolve, and even our customers, like the amount of customers that we have conversations with asking for a job, it's unbelievable.
Wow.
So yeah.
And that's all to do with the culture.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. So we did. I can't remember what it stands for. We did EDI training, but I can't remember what EDI stands for now. I'll have to Google it. But we did EDI training with our staff basically. So none of the leaders were involved, so we stepped out of it. Just all our staff, and they were basically asking questions about the culture in Ticketsolve and how we could do better, all this type of stuff. And the feedback that we had from that was amazing. Like every member of the team said they felt valued in Ticketsolve. They really enjoyed working for Ticketsolve. And in Ticketsolve, you're not just a number. And that's really important to us. We want to give a voice to everyone within the organization. So anyone who's on support, to customer success, to the development team, we all want them input in and the direction and the future of Ticketsolve. We don't just, as senior team leaders, we don't want to basically just do our own thing and not involve anyone. Everyone is involved from the bottom up.
Oh, what do you think is the secret there? It could be the answer is culture, right? And I think culture comes from the top ultimately. When you work in a large organization, it's very difficult to influence the top when you're at the bottom, right? Because you have sort of limited influence. I've done a lot of work for Admiral. Right? Admiral, Wales is only FTSE 100 company. They employ thousands of staff between Swansea and Cardiff, and everyone loves working there. The culture, the people, it's just something incredible. So, not picking on Carmarthenshire County Council.
No.
They happen to be the local authority we live in, but it's probably quite similar in lots of other organisations. What do you think is the secret for big companies to be able to communicate well and to really understand good culture and make all their people feel valued?
Yeah, it's a good question. And if I'm being honest, I haven't got the answer, because I think it's, with big organizations, it's difficult to try and get that culture going. If you haven't had it, it is difficult to try and get it going. One thing I will say is, like, with leaders, because I have coaching myself, because I think it's really important to have coaching and try and develop yourself all the time. And my coach told me a couple of weeks ago, basically, is as leaders, what you should be doing is 80% of the time is leading and managing. 20% of the time is kind of doing stuff. At the moment, I'm probably the opposite, where I'm 80% doing stuff and 20% just leading and managing. And I suppose that's the trap a lot of managers and leaders fall into, is they do too many things where they should be leading. And I think that's really important. So once you start having that kind of different mindset, yes, I need to lead and not do so much, you will see a huge change where you can actually start talking to your staff, getting their thoughts on different things, how we can, it's more strategy thinking than just, oh yeah, I need to send an email, I need to pick up a phone and speak to this person. It's actually sitting back and thinking about things more and involving your team.
And probably the best way to really understand where our time is spent is holding ourselves to account with a coach, perhaps, isn't it?
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, it's really, really important, because like you could be, and I'm probably the worst for it, because I do a load of different things in Ticketsolve and I'm running around like a blue ass fly, It's just doing loads of different things, and sometimes it's difficult to actually plan and sit down. And I suppose, I'm guessing we're going to come on to it later, but just that kind of having that structure within your organization to put things in place. You've got a process to follow, because there's nothing worse than just coming in and doing your own thing all the time. You need a structure and you need a process and a workflow to follow, because if you don't have structure, you're not productive and you're not successful, basically.
It's probably evident in our relationship, right? Because from a business perspective, I think Ticketsolve is definitely Story Cymru's longest standing customer, which is quite good. Because I remember coming up to London for a couple of quid. They pay really well now. But back then, it was a couple of quid to come to London to do to film one of your conferences. I think it was back in 2017.
Probably,
It would have been, and it would have been Leicester Square Theatre. And and for some reason, I caught a flight. Do you remember? Because I missed my flight.
You did, I remember, and I had to give you some.
You had to pay for a train ticket. I missed the flight. That's another story. But back then, you're in charge of marketing. You're working with customers as well. Whereas, like now, when I'm chasing you, Nick, do you want to do this thing? You know, your marketing opportunities. Are we doing this? Are we doing this? And well, you're saying, well, you need to speak to Lucy now, because actually we've delegated that responsibility to a member of the team. And that now gives you more freedom to do more of the leadership stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And that's one key thing that Paul always tells me. Like, we have monthly one-to-ones with Paul, and we got an open door policy in Ticketsolve where you can just ping. We use Slack because we all work remotely. So we Slack each other and jump on a call now or whatever, so I can talk to him anytime. But it always tells me, delegate. You can't be doing everything. I know I want to do everything, but I can't do everything. So it's really important to pick and choose what you do, because if you try and do everything, you'll fail across everything. Where if you basically say, right, these are my key things that I need to work on, you're more likely to succeed.
And Ticketsolve is a very agile company, very forward thinking. What are some of the principles in terms of organizational structure or frameworks? You know, we spoke about this in terms of how to get things done and prioritizing things. What are some of the things you learned and Ticketsolve do really well in?
Yeah, so as you said, we're an agile company. So that means basically we run lean. So we haven't got many staff. Our development process is an agile process where we develop software to MVP, which is a minimum value product, basically, that we can ship it to customers and they will get the minimum amount of value on it. Because we could basically be like other software companies and build a feature out and all the bells and whistles, but our customers will probably be waiting a year and a half for that feature, where now we can ship that in a couple of weeks and it's done. So we're an agile kind of company. And what we found, it was difficult to kind of get everyone on the same page and difficult to really prioritize what we're doing. So Paul was the instigator of this, and it's been a game changer for us, where we now use a framework called OKRs. So I don't know if you've heard of it before.
I haven't.
It's objectives and key results, basically. So it's a framework it was developed back in the 80s, I think, and it was used by Dell company first, the computer company. But now it's used across, like, Google use it, Netflix use it, like a lot of software companies use it, basically.
That's interesting.
Yeah, but OKRs basically have two concepts: objectives and key results. So objective is where you want to go as an organization, and key results are how you measure if you get in there.
Okay. Is there maybe a small example you could share where that might sort of look, or maybe you want to take my company as an example? If you can't think of one for Ticketsolve?
No, it's a bit difficult on the spot to come up with these things, but objective basically.
Well, let's say a feature. Could you maybe
like for you now for Story Cymru? So your objective, one of your objectives could be Story Cymru wants to be the best, video studio in South Wales.
That's right. Preach it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's objectives. Another thing, right, is you need to be very ambitious in your goal. And an objective can't be measured at the start because you measure the key results. So your kind of goal would be, we want to be the best video studio in South Wales. That's your kind of highlight. That's where you want to be. Okay. Key results then. So how would you measure how you get there? So you would say, right, we need to win 3 high profile clients. That will get us to that goal.
Ticketsolve us one.
Exactly, yeah. So you basically come up with these key results then. So like, your objective is that. So one of your key results is, we need to sign 3 high-profile companies in the first quarter in 2025, for example. So that key result is measurable and there's a time frame against it. So you need to do it by this time. Another key result could be we need to develop our website and push it out kind of thing. And we need to do this by Q2 next year or whatever it is. So everything that you do in your key results will always push you towards that main objective about becoming the best videographer in South Wales.
Very, very interesting. I've heard of like Kanban and Scrum and all these different things. So OKRs.
It's definitely use it. We've got a nice resource on our website on OKRs and how you plan it and all that type of stuff, but it's changed the way we work.
Can you give me a login for that?
Absolutely, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well that's really interesting. So OKRs, that's like one measure of you can see how far you're going to achieve a certain goal or to continue, reaching the mission of Ticketsolve.
Yeah, and it's important to know though, on OKRs, there's loads of different levels to OKRs. So in Ticketsolve, we've got a company OKR, so where we want to be as a company. And that's basically the be all and end all, basically. And by having that up there, that's our North Star. So everyone within that organization knows that's where we're going. So there's no kind of ambiguity around anything. Everyone knows, right, this is what we're aiming for. Then what we can do then is break those OKRs down into different departments. So for example, we have an operational OKRs, which is the operations team. Then we have a customer success OKRs, support OKRs, sales and marketing OKRs, etc. Or if you think of it as a pyramid, basically, where all these OKRs, we're all working towards the same goal up here. So, for example, support will have our main objective could be Ticketsolve wants to be the best in the industry kind of thing. That's just something there. And then support, right? How do we get to there? Well, we need to provide the best support in the industry to be able to do that. Customer success, we need to help our customers grow the best they've ever done or whatever. That's going to push us towards that main goal, etc. So as you can see, everything flows together and works towards that kind of North Star.
Brilliant. I'd probably say we're all singing off the same hymn sheet.
Yeah.
That sort of thing, bringing everyone on board to sort of achieve that vision, which is good. Now, in a company like Ticketsolve, you've got lots of team, lots of staff, probably lots of things to do. How do you prioritize between all the different teams? What needs to really get done? What is important? Have you got any methods that you guys use in Ticketsolve?
Yeah. So again, came from Paul, and it's been...
Paul's a wise guy, isn't he?
He's a very wise guy. That's why he's the managing director of Ticketsolve. But Paul brought this concept in called ROCS planning.
Okay. Did he make it up?
No. Everyone steals everything from everywhere. But you can see her on YouTube and all that type of stuff. But it's, do you know that... like a university lecturer. So he's up to his students and he puts a jar in front of them and says, this is your work week or whatever. This sand represents your time. If I put the sand into the jar, fill it up, you haven't got any more time in the week, right? But the sand is all little things. So you fill that up quite quickly. Where with ROCS planning, ROCS are your non-negotiables, basically. So on a weekly basis in Ticketsolve, what we do is we have a customer success scrum, basically, and look at our OKRs for our ROCS planning for next week. So on a Friday, we will say, right, what needs to be done next week? And how do we do this week? So what we do then is have a look at our OKRs, what we need to do in Q1, for example, or Q2 or Q3. We're in Q4 now. And we will say, right, okay, we need to do this. Perfect. So what can I do now? Break that down into a weekly task. So I will pick maybe 3 or 4 non-negotiable tasks that need to be done next week. So the ROCS planning is, I will put those 4 tasks into my calendar. They can't be moved. They're non-negotiable. And those, in the analogy that I used earlier with the jar, those are your big rocks that fit into that jar. And every time that a university lecturer says, right, I've put the big rocks in now, is my jar full? And everyone's like, yes, it is. But he takes out some gravel and then he puts gravel into the jar and that starts filling up. And because you can put other things around those rocks. and everyone says, "Oh, is it full now?" And everyone says, "Yes, it's full now." And he says, "No, it's not," because he put sand in the top of that, and then you can fill that up again. And then, "Is it full now?" And then everyone's like, "Yes, no," because he puts water in the top, and it just keeps on filling up. So if you can think of that concept around your working week, your rocks are in there, which is your non-negotiables. Then your other more important things will come in around those rocks, and then the other stuff that you need to do will also fit in. So by having those rocks set in your calendar, everyone knows they're non-negotiables. And for example, if I got a 2-hour block in to do some strategy thinking around how we can develop our customer engagement for next quarter, that's in my calendar. I cannot move it. And anyone who tries to book a meeting knows, all right, I can't book that in Nick's calendar because this is rocks for this week.
Wow. That's really interesting. I think I'm going to start putting rock emojis on my Slack messages. Dear.
Exactly.
Nick,
yeah.
I'm a rock this week.
Absolutely. Like no, it's been a game changer what we do. But what's really important is you review them every week. So you could just say on a Friday, what's next week? But it's really important to have a look back and sit back and think, right, did we have a good week last week? Did we do what we needed to do? If we didn't, why didn't we do that? And that comes up a lot because like just life gets in the way, like either maybe Oliver or Amelia, one of my kids, was ill one day. I had to go and get them from school, for example. So that's a big thing that came in and disrupted my week. So I'd be talking about that and why that happened, all that type of stuff. So there's loads of things that can impact your week, but it's really important to review that because you can take learnings forward into next week then.
Brilliant. No, I'm definitely going to research into that and try and get up on my... As my business is growing, I'm starting to feel, I need to be more of someone who is quite disciplined with their management and running the business. And, you can get busy working in the business, and I need to try and start working on the business, which is... it's difficult to manage when you're a small team growing, but definitely something I'm going to look into. So you've clearly grown in your confidence. Right? You've had a lot of coaching. You still continue to have coaching. You've progressed in your career. So I'd like to think that going from the council to where you are now is progressing in your career. I think you've done fantastic things to date. I actually remember you. I don't remember you in a ticket cutter.
No.
I remember when you used to work in Theatre Cigar. How do you think you've grown in your sort of belief over these years? You've achieved so many things in your career. I think so. What has helped you achieve some of those goals?
That's a good question. I suppose it's having that kind of mindset and just believing in yourself, because there's so many things that can put you down all the time, like things going wrong, just thinking what other people think about you and all that type of stuff. And that's one thing I struggle with is I kind of need people to like me kind of thing. And I struggle a lot with that, where, if somebody doesn't talk to you or somebody blanks you or something like that, you think, oh, what have I done here to, for them not to talk to you and things like that. But what I'm doing in my coaching now is trying to get away from that, basically, is, you don't need to be liked, you need to be respected, and you don't basically have to get on with everyone, basically. And that's one thing I'm really, really working on at the moment, and it's helping a load. I've done a load in the last month, and it's really put me in a better place there. But going back to your question, I would say is, just that believing in yourself. For example, when I finished rugby, I was thinking, like, what do I do now? I finished rugby, and you miss that kind of, being active all the time, talking to mates, all that type of stuff. I didn't know what to do. And like when you do lose that, you kind of question where you fit in different places. And that's why I decided to do like triathlons and all that type of stuff, because I wanted to keep active and have that kind of social aspect around things as well. So just signing up to do an Ironman, and everyone's like looking at you crazy. What are you doing? What are you signing up for that? And I was like, no, I believe in myself. I can do it. Let's just get it done,
Have you done an Ironman?
Yep. I know, yeah.
How did I miss that? When did you do an Ironman?
When did I do an Ironman? I've done 2. I did one in...
Done 2?
Yeah, I did one in 2018 and 2022.
Wow.
Yeah, a couple of years ago now. Yeah.
Fair play.
Yeah. You just got to get it done.
You're a fit bloke. That's fair to say. No, I didn't brief you this. I brief all my other guests.
Oh, yeah.
For some reason, I forgot with you, Nick. Well, you might already know because you've taken a listen. Now, this podcast is all about business stories and it's all about life stories as well. And we want to hear from all our guests who is perhaps somebody really inspirational, really influential. If you had the time to sit down with somebody and listen to their story, who would that person be?
In the world?
They could be somebody who's not alive anymore.
Okay, all right.
Let's keep it fictional.
Right.
It could be someone that you really respect in the industry.
Yeah.
You probably know Paul's story. Or maybe you don't.
No, I do know Paul's story. Yeah, he's got a good story to tell. So anyone. Who would I pick?
Could be maybe somebody globally known in the arts industry.
Interesting one. Who would I pick? Caught me off guard with this one.
Matthew Stevenson.
Yeah,
you know him.
I do know him. Who would I pick? It'll probably have to be a business leader, I would say. Maybe not actually.
Any books or podcasts you read then?
Yeah, I listen to the High Performance podcast. That's a good one. Yeah, there's a lot of people on there that I'd love to chat to.
I tell you one guy, Dan Priestley. I listened to a High Performance podcast the other day, and he was on there, and it was fantastic.
Yeah.
Really good stuff.
Yeah. I think sports, though. I probably go back to sports because I love sports. So I probably like to speak to someone like Sam Warburton.
Oof.
I think someone like that, maybe. I don't think who else. No, actually, Theo Khaleesi, I would. Probably. Just because of the culture within the South African team and how they've developed that. I don't know if you've seen Chasing the Sun.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I've seen the first one.
I cried.
Is it? Yeah. I've seen the first one.
Very emotional.
I haven't seen the second one yet, but it's on a Rugby Pass now, so I'm going to watch that soon. But yeah, probably Theo Khaleesi, just with... Because everyone says he's not just a rugby player, he's much more than that. He plays rugby for South Africa. He is South Africa, basically. I'd love to chat to him about his philosophy around leadership, culture, building that culture within that team. Because they are probably now one of the best teams ever to have played sport, probably in general. I don't know, World Cups, they've won 5 World Cups now. Won the last 2.
Or maybe they're coming up to 5. Or maybe they have won.
I don't know. I don't know. But they're probably one of the best teams ever to play any sport. Like the All Blacks back in the day. And yeah, just to have how they can work in such a high pressured environment and be high performance, basically. It'll be interesting to know.
That would be somebody I'd absolutely love to hear. Because yeah, I think with Theo Khaleesi, since he's come into the team, because Rassie Erasmus, he was sort of heavily criticised for picking him as captain because he was black.
Yeah.
They thought it was a political stunt, but actually he sort of saw beyond that. And what rugby has done for South Africa is incredible. And that's what I love about sport, is you can actually use a sport to make significant change in the world. And I think that's the bit that really excites me about sport.
Yeah. And that I take a lot from sport into Ticketsolve as well. Like I don't know if you read the book Legacy. It's about the All Blacks and how they do high performance and stuff. And they've got loads of analogies like sweep the sheds, where, after the change, you don't leave the changing room. You leave the changing room as you found it, basically. So you don't want people coming in and picking rubbish up or whatever. You need to respect people. So like anyone does that job. So the captain sweeping the shed, taking it. So there's no job too big for anyone, and that's what we try and teach in Ticketsolve a lot.
That's what you do in Ticketsolve. You sweep the sheds. Excellent. Nick, I've really enjoyed this conversation. I've learned lots about you. I thought I knew you very well, and actually, I've known you. I've gotten to know you a lot better today. So thanks for coming on and sharing some of that insight. And if anyone wants to know more about maybe following you and your sort of what you're up to, or perhaps learning more about Ticketsolve, how can people get in touch with you, Nick? On
LinkedIn probably is the best place because that's where a lot of social business networking goes on. But I'm on social medias, on Instagram, all that type of stuff. If you do follow me on Instagram, you'll be able to see my home improvements and stuff and what I've done there. But yeah, LinkedIn is probably the best place. You can also email me. So if anyone did want to have a chat about OKRs or anything, it's just nick@ticketsolve.com. So it's nice and easy.
Brilliant. Well, thank you, Nick. Thanks for coming on. diolch am dod, and excited to hear when you take over from Paul as the MD of Ticketsolve.
I think that'll be a number of years. Well, I'm not sure yet anyway, but diolch yn fawr, thank you very much.